Okay, so Bill, I'm having an issue. Okay, hi everybody. I am live. I'm trying to find a way to do this so that I am. There we go. Okay, so Bill, have you ever noticed that I have the forehead the size of a solar panel? Like literally, it's a solar panel. My forehead.
So why do you pull your hair back like that?
I don't know. I guess because it
When I
feels
first
good off
met
my
you-
face.
They can't hear me, can they?
Of course they can. I'm live.
Clearly from this far away?
Yeah.
When I first met you, you used to say that's because you have Cherokee heritage and that was a Cherokee forehead.
Yeah, it is Cherokee. I mean, it is. It's a sign of wisdom.
Go with it. Make it sound super hip and exotic and talk about your Cherokee ancestry and yeah, I mean, it's your Cherokee forehead.
I am Cherokee. I don't know if any of you know that, but I actually am Cherokee. And I'm a Cherokee Indian. My grandmother, whose birthday I was born on, you know that I was born on the same day as my grandmother. Hi, everybody, by the way. Hello, Jesus is my rock. That's how I roll. Welcome to my live. This is my open house live. My hair is, I mean, really
trying to cover
really a problem.
Grand Canyon forehead.
But anywho, I wanted to talk to you guys today. I have so much to cover, Bill, and I don't know where to start. Hi, everybody.
Try by saying hi, everybody, one more time.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so no, but seriously, I'm going to talk to you guys today about so many exciting things. One of them is, a lot of people ask me how I became a Christian, so I want to definitely cover that ground. And a few other people have asked me why I left public school and went to private school in middle school. And it's actually part of how I became a Christian and why I became a Christian. That's actually part of the story. Honey, it's very hot in here. Could you please turn the heat down? Anyway, this is an open house, and I'm really, really excited because we are going to talk about this Cal Heel open house that I'm having on Wednesday. Now, I really pray that you will come. Oh, that reminds me, I should probably pin to the top of the comments here. Let me see if I can add a pin. Will it let me? Let me see. Save, highlight, share, cancel, mute. I'm sure I should be able to add a comment, right? Why, Lord, why? Oh, super chat. Super chats are highlighted. So guys, if you want to super chat me, go right ahead. Feel free to super chat me. I'm just not 100% sure that I understand what it is. So don't be mad at me if it doesn't happen exactly, the way I'm supposed to do. I just don't know. There are some things I just don't know. All right. So anyway, okay. I really just don't know how to add a comment. It's going to drive me bananas how I can't figure out how to post a link and then do a comment. It's going to drive me bananas. All right, people, listen to me. Two things. Wednesday, December 13th, I am having a California Healing open house. And I really, really hope that you will, oh my gosh, I've done something and now I don't see the chats anymore, babe.
Chai, you sound like you're on drugs. Seriously, like all over the place.
I know, wait. Okay, live chat. There we go, I'm back. Okay, hello from London, Michael. Wow, London, that's cool. So, what was I gonna say? Oh, I was gonna say that on Wednesday, December 13th, I'm having an open house for California Healing, and I would absolutely love for you to be there. The link to RSVP is in the description of this video. Now, if you can figure out how to find the description of this video, that's amazing. Because I'm not really sure how to get you there. I'm sorry, I don't really know how to get you there, but I hope you can find it. I'm doing my very best here right now. I really, really am.
Really?
No, I really am. This is really the best I can do right now. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to find the description and you're going to fill out the RSVP. And while you do that, I'm going to keep you entertained with a couple stories. Okay. So when I was in the 7th grade, I went to a school called Palms Junior High School. Okay. Palms Junior High School was, a good school. There was really nothing wrong with the school. The problem was that I was literally getting my butt kicked at that school. Like, I was being bullied and I was being pushed against walls, and there was this tunnel that led from one end of the school to the PE, and you had to go under, like the highway. It was a tunnel underneath the school. And that's where I would get assaulted. Like, these girls would come up to me, throw my books onto the floor and push me against the wall and, call me like a bitch and all that stuff. And so, I was scared to go to school. I did not want to go to school. And school was already hard enough for me because I had ADD, which I don't have anymore. Okay. Yeah. And so anyway, there were a couple girls in particular, they will remain unnamed, that really, really had it out for me. And, looking back in retrospect, they were probably a little jealous of me. And I'm not like, what was there to be jealous of? I don't know. But I think they were jealous of me. I think they definitely were a little jealous of me, because what would be the reason for them to treat me that way? Like, clearly it wasn't because I was the smartest girl in the class. I mean, I'm smart, but I wasn't the smartest girl in the class. I don't know. But anyway, so I went home one day and I said, Mom, Palms Junior High is really scary and these girls are bullying me and I just don't feel comfortable there and I don't want to go to the school anymore. So she said, well, I don't know what to tell you because right now we're really financially tight and I can't send you to private school. So you're going to have to figure it out. So a couple of my friends from the 6th grade were going to this Baptist school right up the street. And it was private, but it was like minimal expense. It wasn't like a regular private school. It was pretty cheap. So I asked my mom if I could go there, and she said that would be fine. So I was thrilled, and I joined like halfway through the year. And the second day I was there, I stole a milk off the cafeteria, out of the cafeteria off the tray, chocolate milk. And the next day, the cafeteria girls started walking up to me and they had this look on their face, and I was like, oh no, here we go. So I dig through my backpack and I pulled out a quarter and I was like, here you go. I know I stole that milk yesterday. And they were like, no, we don't want your money. And I said, oh, okay, what's up? And they said, well, we just would like to know if you would like to accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. And I was like, oh my gravy, look what I've gotten myself into. Like, now I have to accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior because, how else am I going to get myself out of this? So they don't want my money. So I said, sure, I'll do it. And they were like, okay, great. So we go down to the girls' bathroom and they put a salvation card in my hand. And they were like, just read the words. That's all you got to do. Just read the words. So I started reading the salvation prayer. And as I was reading the words, I started to feel this holy scan come over me. And the holy scan was very real. I was totally blindsided by it. I was not expecting this feeling to come over me. I felt like I was being cleansed from head to toe. And I felt like, well, it was the Holy Spirit. Clearly, it was the Holy Spirit. And as I finished the salvation prayer, I just felt this scan go all the way down my face, all the way down my knee, all the way past my thighs and to my feet. And by the time I was done, I was in a paralyzed state. I really couldn't speak. And the girls were like, "You all right?" And I couldn't respond. I just kind of sat there, stood there, paralyzed. And they all laughed at me, and then they walked out of the bathroom. And I remember for the next couple of days, I felt God's presence around me very, very powerfully. And I knew in that moment, that Jesus really was God. The Son of God, whatever you want to say. I knew that he was holy, he was the Son of God, and that he was not like Santa Claus, which is kind of where I had him on, sort of the mantle on the same mantle as Santa Claus. And so from that day forward, I always had an awe and a respect for Jesus. Now, to be honest, when I went home, there was still pot smoking going on. My mom loved to roll her doobies, and there were no Bibles laying around. And my father lived in New York, and he was a heroin addict. And I really didn't have a very strong support system around me. And so because of that, I was unable to really fortify and cultivate my relationship with the Lord. And I did have a very extreme case of ADD, so it was very difficult for me to focus at school. So even in like Bible study and stuff like that at the Redeemer School, I never really focused. But I do remember that I had a dream that I was watching a runway. There was an airport, and I was watching this runway, and Jesus was on the cross at the very, very end of the runway. And there was a plane, a huge jumbo jet flying, not flying, moving toward it on the runway. And right before it hit the cross, it flew up right over the cross of Jesus and flew up into the sky. And I just really remember that dream vividly. And I still, wonder what exactly did it mean. Maybe I was going to give up on Jesus, and maybe I was at a place because, I did get into drugs and alcohol and promiscuity, and I was living sort of the Los Angeles wild life. And so maybe I was about to give up on Jesus, or I thought about giving up on Jesus, and instead I let him, I didn't crash into him. I'm not really sure. I can't quite figure that dream out, but maybe you could help me. Comments below. I wanted to sort of add to this story too, for anybody who was ever bullied at school. I remember, sort of the straw that broke the camel's back with the bullying was that I was at my house, and in the middle of the afternoon on a Saturday or a Sunday, I noticed that outside of my front door, I could see the front of my house through the window. I noticed that my very best friend and this other girl who she had been hanging out with, which upset me because the other girl was not nice to me, and I just felt a little betrayed by my best friend because she was hanging out with this girl who was clearly unkind to me. I saw them both out front of my house, and so I went out and I was like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" And they were like, "We've come here to, kick your ass." And I was like, what? And my friend, who I loved and adored, was like, "Yeah, we've come here to kick your ass." And I was like, "Why?" What? And so then my friend came up to me and she kicked me and she hit my lip. And I remember I was just like, "What is happening?" And then I looked at my hand and there was blood coming down my hand. And I was startled. I was so stunned by this. And then the other girl came up to me and pushed me. Well, Rosa Garcia, who was my housekeeper / nanny, who had been living with us since I was, a year old, didn't speak a word of English, and actually Spanish was my first language because of that. So I'm very grateful actually that she didn't speak a word of English. saw what was going on, and she immediately grabbed a wooden spoon and she came out of the house holding this wooden spoon, and she just started wailing on these girls with this wooden spoon, and they just started running down the street. And then about 5 minutes later, my friend came back, my girlfriend came back, the one who I was really close to, came back with tears streaming down her face. And she was like, China, I'm so sorry. And I was still bleeding, and she helped me, and she got ice, and she got it in. And I was like, it makes me want to cry, because I felt so happy that my girlfriend had come back. But I also just look back on that situation and I just think, oh my gosh, like how twisted and sort of convoluted is that situation when your best friend kicks you in the mouth and then comes back 5 minutes later to apologize and is helping you and she just said, I don't know why I did that. I'm so sorry. And it was this, I was about to say this girl's name, and it was her idea and it wasn't my idea. And, of course I forgave my friend. But that's what got me to the public school. To the private school, forgive me. That's what got me to the private Baptist school where I received Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I think that for me, violence has been something that has always been so upsetting to me. Watching violence, witnessing violence. I was at the park when I was a kid, and I was probably about, 14 years old, and there were a bunch of kids there that night. And of course we were all drinking and smoking and, just doing our shenanigans and hanging out. And this truck pulled up, a pickup truck, and this girl who was sort of short and stocky and she looked tough came out. I didn't recognize her. I had never seen her before. I don't know where she came from because we used to all hang out at that park, but she was tough. And she came out wearing a cowboy hat and she had cowboy boots on, and she went beelined directly for this one girl who I had seen at the park a few times, but I didn't really know her personally. Anyway, she grabbed her from behind and pulled her down by the hair. And I know this is a little graphic, but I'm just telling you, that like now kids pull out guns and stuff, but back then, the fights were brutal. And, she pulled her to the ground by her hair and kicked her in the head with the boots, and she was bleeding profusely, and, it went on and on. And I just remember being very traumatized by that. And then this kid put the girl on his bicycle bars and took her to the nearest emergency room. And she was just, unconscious and covered in blood, and he was holding her up and she was literally laying on his shoulder. And I just can't believe, how cruel children can be to one another. And, I just want to put it out there that it's important for us to talk to our children about love and mercy and kindness and gentleness and compassion and empathy, and reminding them that, violence is definitely not the answer. And I feel like so much of the time that's what kids default to, because they just feel so, whatever. They just feel so, they feel so, I don't even know what the word is. What's the word? They feel so, help me out here. I don't even know what it is, like unworthy, or they feel, I can't think of a word right now. I just can't think of a freaking word. Somebody give me a word. Well, I can't think of it right now. But, they just feel so insecure or unworthy that they feel like they need to prove themselves, that they feel like they need to, show off, or, it's like that whole mentality, that pack mentality of people just the kids just banding together to pick on one person. And it's really cruel and it's just so unnecessary. So I hope that you've gleaned something from this story of mine because I'm not sure I ever shared that other story, that second story there. But I wanted to just remind you guys that this is a live to promote my open house for California Healing. That is going to be on Wednesday, December 13th. That's this Wednesday. And the link is in my description. And it's also in my Instagram story right now and in my Instagram bio. So if you decide, and that's China_Phillips. So if you decide that you would like to be part of this open house, it's going to be, Ryan O'Neal just died?
Yeah, just in case you wanted to talk about it.
What?
I don't know if it was a few hours ago, but it's just coming over
Ryan O'Neal passed away.
Yeah. You can talk about your stuff.
Wow.
Breaking news.
Wow, I grew up with Tatum. That's crazy.
Yeah, 82 years old, but not in great health.
82 years old. It's remarkable that he actually lived to be 82. Wow. Ryan O'Neal just passed away. God bless his soul. Lot to unpack with Ryan O'Neal, which we're not going to do right now. But I do sometimes think about his son, Red, who I think might still be in prison. Yeah, it's a sad story. Farrah and Ryan and Tatum. It's really remarkable, these Hollywood families, which I know nothing about. I know nothing about growing up in Hollywood with a Hollywood family that is dysfunctional. I wish I could, add my 2 cents here. But wow. Breaking news, Ryan O'Neal. 82 years old, just passed away. My goodness. Well, our thoughts and prayers are with the family. So I want you guys to know that California Healing is just growing exponentially. And I am so thrilled about it. I mean, it's just really taking off. And the reason I believe it's taking off is because women's lives are being changed. Like, women are truly being transformed and they're growing in the Lord and they are evolving in a way that is so obvious, the growth in their faith walk. And I'm seeing radical changes in myself just by being a part of the California Healing community. I know it sounds strange, but I really do just want to be a sheep among many. I just want to be in the group and be able to experience it just like everyone else, even though, I launched it. I feel like it was all Jesus. It was all God. I really had very little to do with it other than the fact that I was in, such extreme pain that I felt like I needed a network of ladies that I could talk to and that I could commune with and to be able to be transparent with them and talk about my avalanche of really I just felt like I was getting punched over and over again. And finally, I just hit a terrible bottom. So much so that I was self-harming. I was slapping myself across the face. It's really difficult to admit that, but I think it's important to talk about self-harming because I had never self-harmed before, other than obviously doing drugs, which I do consider to be a form of self-harming, obviously. And even food abuse issues where I was overeating, and that's self-harm too. But I'm talking about like cutting yourself or hitting yourself, burning yourself. I mean, people do horrible things to themselves, and I was hitting myself as hard as I possibly could across the face, and I would get little bruises on my face from my rings hitting my chin or my cheek. And it's so awful to have to admit to you guys, but I do feel like it's important so that you can truly understand the depth of the type of pain I was in. So many things led up to that. And I feel like, hey, babe, could you turn that down? Thank you. Yeah, so many things led up to it. I know a lot of you know this, but I lost my best friend. She died in my arms from a stroke. And my son had stage 4 cancer. And we had that horrible, tragic incident with Alec. And we had a sprinkle a little COVID in there. We had fires in our community. 28 people were killed in a mudslide. In a mudslide in our community, including children, including a couple of my friends' children. So there were some really tragic events that just led up to this. So then Billy and I also got into the biggest, most earth-shattering fight that we had ever gotten into in our lives. And so much so that we had to separate for 6 months because I just was so angry. And it was like a firestorm of anger and bitterness. And we met when I was very young. I mean, you have to remember that I was only 23 years old when I met Billy. I'm 55. And so we've really grown up together. And there are certain, if you've been in a long-term relationships, there's patterns that develop, and there's dances that you get used to doing together. And when somebody tries to switch up the dance and tries to, or chooses to switch up the dance, I shouldn't even say try, chooses to switch up the dance, it can be really difficult for the partner to accept. And I tried to switch up our dance a couple times, and it was challenging. It was definitely challenging. And I think that it led to just a lot of hostility, not physical hostility, but just this feeling of like you're not on the same team. I just felt like Billy and I were not on the same team anymore. And that was heartbreaking for me. And we had to rediscover ourselves again. We had to rediscover who we were. We had to start over. We had to wipe the slate clean. And we had to dig really deep, and we had to unearth some painful stuff, and we had to process stuff that was difficult. And when you have the courage to do it, when you have the courage to get real with one another and to do that deep dive into your relationship, I mean, I didn't think I could change. I honestly didn't think that anything could change in our marriage. I didn't think that I could treat Billy differently, and I didn't believe that Billy could treat me differently. I just thought it was sort of hopeless. I'm just being honest. But I was wrong. I am very happy to report that I was incorrect. And Billy and I have been able to persevere and get to a better, stronger place in our marriage where we are sort of like honeymooning again. If you had told me that I was going to say this a year ago, I would have laughed in your face because I honestly thought we were over. I mean, I got a lawyer. Girls, Chai got a lawyer. And I really thought it was the end. And, I was wrong. I was wrong about that. So if you're separated or you're going through divorce or you're just having a really tough time in your marriage, you may not know what the end of your story is going to be. You may not know. So trust in the plan you cannot see. Again, I feel like I just have to keep mentioning this because I don't want to talk about it the entire time, but I am having a California Healing open house, and I pray that you guys will come. We are going to talk all Cal Heal. You'll be able to ask me any questions under the sun. You will be able to talk to Casey Frank, who's our Bionic Bible Study, and Ajwa Ramsey, who's out of London, and she does our Power Word in California Healing. And we're going to give you a little taste of what California Healing is like. And if you're interested in RSVPing for this, it'll be at 5 o'clock West Coast and 8 o'clock East Coast on December 13th. And the RSVP form is in the description of this video. And it is also in my Instagram story right now, the form, and it is also an Instagram post. It's in my bio. So please make sure to join us. We've already got, I think, 30 people RSVP'd. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun. It's going to be a party. And I really look forward to meeting you guys. So what else did I want to share with you guys? I guess I wanted to talk a little bit about, I have to tell you guys, because I feel like I would be remiss not to, that I have been doing some intermittent fasting. I know I talked about this in my last live, but I really want to express to you guys that if you are suffering from chronic pain, if you are suffering from joint pain, if you're suffering from fibromyalgia, if you're suffering from any type of chronic disease, autoimmune, I have to tell you that I did not realize that I could turn on the doctor in my body. And I have turned on the doctor in my body, which we know is the great physician, which is the Lord. So I thank God for him putting this intermittent fasting into my life, because it has been, I'm almost ashamed to admit that it has worked, because I've known about intermittent fasting for years, but I always just kind of poo-pooed it, to be honest. I always just kind of felt like, it can't really be that effective. Again, I was wrong. I'm wrong about a lot of things I've noticed. But I will say that it has been completely transformative in my life. And I would strongly recommend that if you have had a chronic injury in your body, if you experience back pain, try the intermittent fasting. Go on YouTube and just, immerse yourself in learning about intermittent fasting. Because I'm not a doctor and I don't claim to be a doctor, but I do promise you that it is life altering, and that I would wake up in so much pain every day that it would make me cry. And I was living in my own personal hell because of the pain I was in. And nobody could see it on the outside, but I could feel it on the inside. And I was really struggling. And I really thought my life was over because of the pain. I just thought I'm never going to be able to play pickleball with my friends. All my friends started playing pickleball, and I was like, yeah, you have fun with that, because I could never do that. I never thought that I would be able to run again. I haven't tried it yet, but I know that I could go outside and run right now. I can feel that I could run, and that is a miracle. I can't say enough about the intermittent fasting. So please learn as much as you can about it, because literally all I've done is cut out the gluten and I started intermittent fasting. Now for me, I will tell you that I think this is part of the reason why I never tried intermittent fasting is because I'm terrified of being hungry. Like I'm scared of being hungry. I don't want to be hungry. I relied on food as a kid for comfort. And so for me, you can touch everything else, but don't touch my food. Don't touch food. Leave my food alone because I need my food in order to survive. It was literally a survival mechanism for me as a kid. So I think that was part of my resistance to wanting to try the intermittent fasting because I didn't want to be hungry. But after day 2 or 3, your stomach shrinks and then you're not as hungry. Literally, I'm not craving the food that I was craving a month ago before I started this. So have hope, okay, guys? Please have hope in intermittent fasting. I'm telling you right now, game changer. So, another thing that I wanted to talk about was, I don't know, I've had my dad on my heart for the past couple of days, just thinking about things that we used to do together. Like we used to sit at his piano and we used to write songs together. And that he had this fish bowl, and there was a little fish inside the fish bowl, just one fish, a solo fish. And we wrote an entire song around this fish in the fishbowl and how it was his whole world. And then we used to sit in front of the mirror together, and I'm sure he was high as a kite. As a matter of fact, I know he was high as a kite. But we used to sit in front of the mirror and we used to like pose for our record cover together. And I really believed in my heart that one day we would make a record together. I mean, I could have been more than 5 or 6 years old. And I just so distinctly remember doing this album cover thing with my dad. And then I used to remember walking down the street with my father, and he had such big hands. And of course, I was, 6 years old. And I used to just hold on to one of his fingers when we were walking down the street. And I remember thinking how safe I felt, holding on to my dad's finger walking down the street. And I cherish these memories because I don't have that many memories with my father. So for me, being able to reflect on the few memories that I do have with my dad is really special for me. I also remember walking down the beach with my dad and my brother Tam, and we were in Malibu. And I just remember that there was this really big wave headed toward us, really big. And my father started to panic because if you've ever walked in Malibu, there's houses, that are on stilts, sort of like right on the sand. And then there's only about 20 feet between, the houses and the water. And so certain stretches of Malibu are like that. And he said, get against the wall, now. And so Tam and I ran against the wall, and he tried to blockade us and cover us. But this wave, just massive wave, came in and pulled us out to the ocean. And I just remember being swept away so quickly. And I remember thinking, is this the end of my life? I literally remember thinking that, like, is this it? And so I'm under the water and I'm just being tossed and turned like a washing machine. And I can see my brother's feet in front of my face. And then suddenly I see my father's hand and I see him grab my brother's foot and he pulls him out. And I just thought, oh my gosh, like he can't see me. He doesn't see me. He sees Tam, but he doesn't see me. And I thought, that's it. I am going to die. And I looked up and I saw this man standing on like the, like sort of like the end of his house, like on the brink of his house, just right there on the edge. And he was wearing Speedos and he had really curly, kinky hair, and he wasn't wearing anything else but his Speedos and his kinky hair. And he dove, like swan dived off of his house and went into the water and grabbed me and pulled me out. Well, it turned out that that man was Robert Plant. Of all people, I kid you not, Robert Plant saved my life. So then we went up to Robert Plant's house, and he had a pool, and I was swimming in the pool. But of course, I was hysterically crying for like an hour. They couldn't calm me down because I was so traumatized by the experience of thinking I was going to die and being swept away, and seeing my father grab my brother and thinking he couldn't find me. It was really scary. But anyway, then I was swimming in Robert Plant's pool, and everything was fine. But yeah, I've got a few wild stories. I almost burned my father's house down too. He had this like cooker oven, like one of those toaster ovens in his garage. And I remember that Tam and I were playing with cotton balls. We got like a bag of cotton balls, and we thought it would be really cool to see what would happen if we put cotton balls in the toaster oven. So we started putting cotton balls in the toaster oven, and of course the cotton balls caught on fire, and the whole toaster oven caught on fire, and then the wiring started to like go, and we just ran out of the garage, and of course smoke started billowing out of the garage, and then the fire trucks came, and I don't even know where my dad was or where Genevieve was at this time. How's the hair doing, guys? Am I holding up here? Is this all still doing okay? No, it's absolutely not. Let's give it a fluff, shall we, as we talk about me burning down my father's house in Malibu. So, yeah, so there's that. I actually can't believe how fast a cotton ball catches fire. Don't try it at home. Do not try it at home, but just trust it goes really fast. It burns real fast. So for those of you who do not know, I am having an open house on Wednesday for California Healing, December 13th, 5 o'clock West Coast, 8 o'clock East. And the form is in the description of this video. And it is also in my Instagram story and the post. There's a post and a story with the link. So I pray, the link is in the bio of my Instagram. So I pray that you will join us. It's going to be oodles of fun. And we are going to give you an opportunity to ask all the questions that you could ever, your heart's desire, that you could ever ask about Cal Heal. And we are going to give you an opportunity to meet the Bible study teacher. Her name is Casey Frank. And also Ajwa Ramsey, who is our power word leader out of London. So I think we already have like 30 RSVPs. So it's going to be a full house, but it's going to be a real party. And I would just love to see you there. So I pray that you know how to find the description of this video. That would be helpful. I would post the link if I knew how. You know, this is like getting to be the running joke that I still have not figured out how to pin a link. So forgive me. But anyway, I'm going to read a few of your questions. If you have any, please let me know. I think the Lord will have great mercy on Robert Plant. Aw, I agree. I do agree with you. Let's see here. We got Tamar, we've got Carol Garza, and we've got Kathy Larson, and we have Jody. Hi, Jody. And then we have Stunt Brat. Hey, Stunt Brat. Tyler's doing good. Love Tyler. Yeah, Tyler's doing amazing. Love him so much. I miss his guts. He's living in LA and he's working really hard as a PA, and he's got a fantastic job. So I'm really proud of him, and he helps me a lot with my social media stuff. So love Tyler. Thanks for asking. Hendrix is upstairs, and that's amazing. And then let's see, what else have we got here? Linda D. Hi, Linda D. What other stories can I tell you guys? I'm trying to think of what I could talk to you about tonight. Just so many crazy stories. I mean, literally, I could tell you the Prince story. Want to hear a story about Prince? I'll tell you a story about Prince. So Billy and I went on our first date and we went to a place called 2020. It was in Century City, and it was a nightclub that had amazing singers like Shaka Khan and Prince and Stevie Wonder, and they would just get up and riff, like they would just get up there and sing, and it was just sort of like, you know, standing room only kind of thing, but it was so much fun. And so we went there, and the first night that I was there, the waiter came up to me, and I had noticed that everyone noticed that Prince was there. How do you miss Prince? And the waiter said, "This is for you, and it's from, oh, what was his name? He didn't have a name, right? He had a sign. Anyway, he said something like that. So he puts this napkin down in front of me, and the napkin just says, "I love your music. I love your music." And then there's an eye, and it's got lashes, and then his sign, whatever his sign was. And I was like, "Billy, Prince like gave me this napkin," and Billy was like, "No way, it's so cool." And I don't remember how he got my number, but Prince got my number. And so he would like, well, first of all, me trying to reach Prince, because I think I got his number first through like my agency because he had expressed interest in writing with me. So I was obviously not going to pass up that opportunity. So, but when I called the number, it was like, "Hello, you've reached such and such an extension." And I was like, "Hi, I'm calling to talk to Prince." And they were like, "Who's calling?" And I was like, "China Phillips from Wilson Phillips." And they were like, "Please hold." And then I heard like, and they're like dispatched to like the next line. "Yes, hello. Hi, I was just transferred. I'm trying to reach Prince." "Who's calling?" "It's China Phillips from Wilson Phillips. You know, someday somebody's gonna make you wanna turn." And they were like, "Please hold." So then it's transferred to the next person. I'm not kidding you guys. It was like I was trying to call, you know, Barack Obama or Bill Clinton or something. Like literally it was like trying to reach the president. And finally I get through to Prince, and he's like, "Hey." I said, "Hey, Prince, it's China." And he was like, and of course it was so uncomfortable because I didn't know what to call him. He didn't have a name. He was just going by the sign, right? But of course I still called him Prince. I'm like, "What am I gonna call you?" You know? So he was like, "Hey, yeah, so what are you working on lately?" I was like, "I'm just writing some songs. I'm actually writing a song right now called Joy." And he was like, "Oh, I really like one title, you know, one word songs, like one word title songs. That's pretty cool." And I was like, "You do? You like that?" He was like, "Yeah, I think that's great. I love that." And so, and he was like, "So where are you?" I said, "I'm in my bathroom." He was like, "Why are you in your bathroom?" And I said, "Because, you know, there's people at my house and I need privacy." And he was like, "So you're in your bathroom? What are you wearing?" And I was like, "I'm wearing jeans and a white t-shirt." A white t-shirt. And he was like, "Oh, that's sexy." It's like, okay. And I could tell that it was not going in the direction that I wanted it to go. It was getting a little uncomfortable. And his voice just stayed like this the whole time. And he was like, "So you want to come to my house?" and I was like, "Well, I'm not 100% sure that I would want to come to your house." And he was like, "Why? It'd be great. You know, we'll write some songs." And I was like, "Sure. I mean, I can bring Billy with me." And he was like, "Why would you need to bring Billy?" And I was like, "You know, I just think that it might go over better if I, you know, bring Bill with me. I might feel a little more comfortable." And he was like, So you need to have a man by your side in order to feel comfortable. It was like this whole thing. And I was like, Prince, I'm not really sure that this is going to be the best collaboration. And he was really not happy about it. But, I did say, I love your music. Like, you're a legend. Love your music. Grew up with it. I think you're extraordinary. And I don't mean to upset you because I wouldn't want to upset Prince. But I really don't think I can come to, what was it called? Purpleville? What was it called? What was it called? His place. It was like Paisley Park. That's what it was. He was like, so do you want to come to Paisley Park? Yeah, I couldn't do Paisley Park with Prince. It just wasn't going to work because I don't think his intentions were like 100% pure, to be honest. But that's okay. I love Prince. Love him. Love Prince. Not putting Prince down. But I wasn't going to go to Paisley Park. So that's my Prince story. And I could tell you story after story after story. I mean, I could keep going. I really could. Let's see. Let's see if we have any commentary on this. Newly chartered Golden State Republican women. He was not anyone I would want to hook up with. No temptation from straying from the hubs there. Peace Prince, yes. Purpleville. Oh, Victoria. Hi, honey. I'm so happy you're on, Victoria. I love you so much. Mackenzie, let's talk about Mackenzie for a second. How many of you watched my last Cal Preach with Mackenzie? It's pretty awesome, right? We had a blast. I mean, we had such a good time. We had such a good time that we're going to do it again very soon, like next week. And I'm really, really looking forward to part 2 with Mackenzie. Talk about stories to tell. I mean, Mackenzie has some serious, amazing stories to tell. And I'm going to get into the weeds with Mackenzie, and we're going to talk about a bunch of other things. And I'm excited about it. She's an amazing person. Talk about perseverance. Talk about an overcomer. Talk about a survivor. Talk about a woman who really does have such a beautiful heart and such love for her family. I mean, it must have been extremely hard for her when, she was ostracized, not just by, her family, but by many people. I know she had a ton of support, but, there's always haters. And, she was just, look, she would admit this. She signed on to do the book, and she signed on to talk about all of the things that she talked about, which were, just, bombs, just truly, truly, huge atom bombs. But I think that she did it with grace. I remember watching her on so many different talk shows and really thinking to myself, wow, she's really intelligent and she's really articulating what happened to her in such a honest, very, very clear, very fair way. The only thing I truly had an issue with was that my father wasn't there to defend himself. Obviously my father was not around anymore. And so it was the fact that he was deceased and the fact that he couldn't sort of tell his side of the story, I didn't feel was fair. But hey, there's that. What are you going to do? It is what it is. But all that aside, Mackenzie and I have a beautiful friendship, And, I'm proud to call her my sister. And, I even said to her, I said, we were at such a disadvantage because when I was growing up, I wasn't allowed to see, dad. And of course, if I wasn't allowed to see dad, I wasn't going to be seeing much of you. My mom kept me from seeing my father because of his extreme addiction to heroin. And I love my mother for that. And I respect her for that. It doesn't negate the fact that it was still very painful for me to be separated from my dad and to not be able to see him. It was something that I was unable actually to process. So I just sort of compartmentalized it and I sort of stashed it away into a chamber of my heart, my abandonment issues and my sadness around that. I had to intentionally, but also subconsciously. It's strange. Like I knew what I was doing. I knew that I wasn't addressing the issue or the feelings because I didn't know how to around my father. So I tucked it away. I don't know if anybody else can identify with that, but that's definitely what I did. I'm sorry. I'm feeling something on my lip. But yeah, I have a lot of abandonment issues, a lot. I remember sitting with my girlfriend Robin one night and she was studying to be a psychologist. So of course she would ask me the really deep questions, like you could always count on Robin to ask you the deep questions. And one night she was just like, so, wow, Chai, like you never really knew your dad. And how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the fact that you didn't have a dad growing up? And at first I was really stoic and I was just like, well, what are you talking about? Like, it was fine. It was all I knew. I didn't know any different. I love it when people say that. Oh, well, I didn't know any different. So it wasn't painful because I didn't know any different. It's still painful. But I said to her, yeah, it was fine. It was all I knew. And she said, come on, China. She said, where's, that little girl inside of you had to have had some deep emotion around that, some feeling around that. And I was like, trying so hard to hold it together. And then there was like this one ice tear that just came down my cheek. And she was like, it's okay. You can feel that. You can talk about that. And then I just went, and just burst out into a puddle of tears. And I collapsed onto the floor, literally collapsed onto the floor into a ball. And I just cried. And she just rubbed my back. And I didn't even know what was happening. It was just like this flood of emotion just came pouring out of me. And I was shocked by it. I was stunned that I had such strong emotion. And I hadn't realized that this, when this dam broke, it was like suddenly a light went on and I realized, oh my goodness, I'm in a ton of pain and no wonder I used drugs. No wonder I was promiscuous. No wonder I was, I had such self-loathing. No wonder I was so, I used to have a little devil and a little angel that lived on my shoulder. For years, I was listening to this devil and this angel and they were telling me to do things. And it was, it was paranoia and it was anxiety. And this is how it manifested itself. And so for me, when I finally felt the feelings around my dad, it was sort of an epiphany, like, oh my goodness, I am really holding on to an extraordinary amount of grief and sadness and pain that I knew existed, but I was unwilling to give attention to. And when I finally did, well, it was a lot of tears and a lot of untangling this ball of memories uh, and feelings of neglect and feelings of extraordinary abandonment that I needed to sift through. And I did with a therapist, Marlene Schoen, for years and years. I sat on that couch with, Marlene, and oh my goodness, we talked about it all. And she always says to me, because she still calls me every single year on my birthday, and she says, China, I remember the first time you walked into my office wearing your little blue dress. I was like, I don't know, 19 years old, wearing this little blue dress and these little white shoes that were like tie up, like ballet slipper kind of, flats that had, remember those in the 80s? And I had them tied. And she said, and you had your hair up in this ponytail. And you were just such a little, like you were a child. And now look at you, 3 children and married and, in your 50s. And she's just like, you have come so far. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful that she, I saw her for, 30 years. I saw her for a long time. Marlene knows all my secrets. But yeah, that's another story. This has been fun to just reminisce with you guys and just talk to you guys. I wasn't really expecting my live to turn into this, but hey, it's been a lot of fun talking to you guys, but it is getting a little late. And I do want to remind you that we are having a California Healing open house, and it's going to happen this Wednesday night, 5 o'clock West Coast, PST, and 8 o'clock EST. And I just pray in Jesus' name that you will join us. And listen, if you're not a Christian and that's why you haven't joined Cal Heal, I have to tell you, I think you should revisit that, because California Healing is not only about the Lord, even though it's saturated with Jesus. It is, but it's not all about Jesus only. It's also about us being able to connect as ladies and to be able to share our stories and share our journey, our life journey with each other, and to be able to walk each other home. Listen, life is lonely, and it can be very isolating. And if you're feeling that way, I didn't even realize how lonely I was and how little fellowship I truly had until I joined Cal Heal. And once I joined Cal Heal. But once I was sort of, just really, really engaging with these ladies and talking to them literally every single day, and then meeting with them on a Zoom call once a week. And it just took my faith to the next level. It took it brought my anxiety down, and it definitely elevated my joy. And like I said, you don't necessarily have to be a Christian to join California Healing. We will definitely want to introduce you to the Lord and help, maybe walk you home and love you to the cross. But don't be afraid of that, because Jesus is awesome. And Jesus is your brother. Like, Jesus is your friend, your great physician, your brother, your God, your counselor, your comforter. Jesus is so much more than what you might think Jesus is. So if you think you have Jesus figured out, trust me, you don't. You don't have Jesus figured out. I don't even have Jesus figured out. But, I just want you to trust in the process. And look, it may not be for you, but what's the worst that could happen? You subscribe to California Healing and you decide it's not for you. Okay, no big deal, right? So Anyway, I absolutely love you guys. And I thank you for spending this time with me tonight and being here on my live. It's actually calmed me down and it's made me feel more relaxed. And I feel so much more in my body than when I started this live. I was all over the place, girl. But yeah, I'm just really grateful for this community. And I just, I want to thank you guys. I guess there was like Grateful Tuesday or Thankful Tuesday a few weeks ago. I didn't even know it existed. Somebody was like, you didn't thank everybody on Gratitude Tuesday. And I was like, I didn't even know there was such a thing. Nobody told me about Gratitude Tuesday. And so, anyways, I do want to take a moment just to thank you guys for all of your love and support and just the way you guys have lifted me up. I mean, you guys know how to the depths that, the dark night of my soul. When I was in the darkest place, you guys didn't abandon me. You guys continued to show up and lift me up and encourage me. And you really kept me from drowning. Truly, you kept me from drowning. And I am very grateful to you guys for that. And it's almost a 5-year anniversary of California Preachin', and I am just so overjoyed that it continues to grow and that people are actually opening their Bibles more, and or maybe even for the first time, that people are praying more, that people are connecting and making, real connections here on California Preachin'. And there are some of you who've been here since day one. Clarissa Dane Hughes, hello. I think you were my first subscriber. Thank you. I love you. Yeah, so I just want to extend my thanks to you guys and to just, let you know that I know that with this channel comes great responsibility, and I'm trying my hardest to deliver quality content and to be able to keep it as real and as down to earth as possible, because I just know that, I don't know about you, but like I can smell BS a mile away. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I'm determined and dedicated to talking to you guys straight and not putting up the veils and the facades and this, all of the screens that I could if I wanted to, because it was invaluable to me when I first started getting on YouTube and started hearing people talk about how they were really feeling and what was going on in their lives. There's just nothing like people being willing to tell the truth and put down their guards and let people see who they truly are, and into their hearts and into their struggles and into their brokenness and into their imperfections. And I strive to do that here. And I know sometimes I don't do it perfect. And I just want you guys to keep me accountable to that, because that's part of why this channel has done so well, is because I've been willing to talk to you guys about things that have been really painful. Sorry. But, I'm doubling down on that commitment to you guys. And I just want to thank you, because by me feeling safe enough to do that here, you're giving me a platform and a place where I can truly just be Chai. And I don't have to be anybody else but myself. And that is truly a gift from God. And you guys play a huge, huge part in that. So I thank you and I love you, and you better be at my open house, okay? It's free. You have no excuse. Just show up. Show up. Why not? So with that, I send you off with my, my tagline, which I strive to feel on a daily basis, but don't always feel it. But that's why I say it, because it's my goal in life. So here we go. Peace of Christ. Have a beautiful evening, you guys. Over and out. Roger that. 10-4. Bye. Oh, gosh.